Today is September the 1st, 2010. This is a regular meeting of the Brownsville Navigation District. The time is 5:35 p.m. Call the meeting to order. And is the Reverend here?
No, the Reverend called me and told me he wasn't going to be able to make it.
Okay.
I'll be glad to do a prayer if you like.
Mr. Cowan?
Our Heavenly Father, we come before you today to conduct the business on behalf of the citizens of the district, of the Brownsville Navigation District. And we ask that you bless us and enlighten us as commissioners to do the thing that would most benefit everyone here, so that we may have prosperity and so that the next generation will be better off than this current generation is. And we thank you for our many blessings. And we ask that we bless all of us and all of our loved ones and everyone that's present in this meeting and everyone that's out there that watches this meeting. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay.
Item number 2, public audience. No one has signed up to speak of the agenda items. Item 3, receive direct...
There is someone that didn't...
That's not an agenda item.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll receive that at the end of the meeting in the public audience.
Can we accommodate her at the...
That's the
Chairman, can we accommodate her at the
Well, we
beginning?
normally don't do that. And so, unless she's on a real tight schedule.
She is.
Okay, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you so much for making an exception, allowing me to be here. I do have a 6 o'clock meeting in Brownsville, and I appreciate the time. Let me say, my name is Linda Chavez-Thompson, for the record. I'm a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, but I don't speak here as a candidate today. I speak here in total amazement of what I saw this afternoon. Commissioner Cowan was kind enough to show me a tour. And I will be very honest with you, I think of a port as somewhere where a ship comes in, unloads, or loads, and leaves. What I saw today absolutely just overwhelmed me, because it is not just that. The work that you're doing here and the importance of this port to the community is of importance to you. So one of the things is that I've seen and I've heard, had a chance to visit with some of the workers here, the great strides that you have made in creating jobs here in the area, that the port has done that. I also see some needs. Road infrastructure, of course, is one of the, I see as a need that you have and are trying to address, but I understand how difficult it can be because you're in competition with the rest of the state of Texas, as I understand. What I also see and what I've heard and had opportunity to talk with, not just the commissioner, but with county commissioners and others, is that there needs to be a state investment in the area to not only promote, but to sustain good paying jobs in this community. Anybody who gets paid a little bit extra money, guess what? They're going to spend it in their own community, and that's going to help the economy. I am also very interested in education and worker training. I visited the University of Texas at Brownsville yesterday. Beautiful campus, absolutely wonderful young people who are studying there who can go from home to school. We need to find ways to fund more worker training and to fund more educational programs. I am going to look into certainly why the Texas university system doesn't put more money into Brownsville. We need more people and we need more of our children going to school. So one of the priorities for me is education and job creation. Another one for the port is what you need is state investment in the needs of this city, in the part of South Texas. We need South Texas voices heard, and we hope that whoever gets elected to the state offices will start paying attention to South Texas and the needs that we have in South Texas. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here this afternoon. And I wish you well in your meeting and in the as you conduct the business of a very important function here in the Port of Brownsville. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Item number 3, received director's report. 3.1, Port Bridges Point, the Tiger Grant 2 application and Cross Gulf Container Expansion Project.
I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman. What you have here is I'm passing out a copy of, well, first and foremost, our Tiger Grant application was due on the 23rd of August, and we made the deadline. We got our confirmation, so we're in. What I'm passing out to you is the summary, and the last attachment is actually the breakout of the funds. As you're aware, we have submitted a joint application with Manatee to essentially take advantage of our most recent marine highway designation. The project itself centers around infrastructure. On the very last page of that handout, you will see how it breaks down. We are asking for approximately $25 million for the purposes of constructing Dock 16. That represents 80% of the total project cost. The balance of the project, approximately $6.25 million, is for equipment and some rail improvements, and that would represent our 20% match towards that project. Part of that 20% match also includes a match by BRG for some rail improvements on the dock and some equipment for the movement of rail cars and switching rail cars in and around the port. So that application is in. From what we're being told, the announcements are probably going to occur somewhere around mid-October. And so, of course, you know, we're just as optimistic as we were the last time, and I think that's the only way to look at it. So it is in, you know, our application's been received. The review process has begun. I wanted you to have the generalities of it. I will tell you that our application is available for viewing in its entirety with all of the appendices on our webpage. We've posted it on there so anybody can go on the Port of Brownsville webpage, look at the Tiger 2, and everything is there. And so that's it on Tiger 2. The second component of our grant applications is the one that's entitled the Cross Gulf Container Expansion Project. And I'm passing that one out. And that's accompanied by the letter that we received notifying us that on August 11th, our project, the Cross Gulf Container Expansion Project, was selected as one of 8 marine highway projects in the United States. And so what that has done is given us an avenue to apply for Marine Highway Grant Program. And the Marine Highway Grant Program was due on the 27th of August, and I'm happy to report that it got submitted and we're in. Only 8 applicants are eligible for that money. What we don't know is how many applicants have applied for it. I will tell you, and going back to Tiger 2, what we learned recently is no different than Tiger 1. It's vastly oversubscribed. In other words, there's a heck of a lot more applications asking for money than there's a money available to do it. So again, we're hoping that on both of these applications that we will be successful. This application is also centered around the Marine Highway Program. It is an application for funding to expand the service levels of the third-party operator, the Seabridge Freight. It would provide funds to make adjustments to the container barges that would allow to increase the capacity of cargo. It would allow us to buy equipment to facilitate on a more efficient way the movement of cargo here at the Port of Brownsville. And it would also provide the means to expand the frequency of the service. If all goes well and that application is approved, that it's submitted, we would see the addition of another barge and another tug in about a year from now, and so that would give us expanded service. So, you know, this announcement must be made before the end of this month. Those funds have to be committed before October 1, which in our case, it's the ending of the federal fiscal year. So that announcement is going to come very quick, and we're hopeful that we will be successful. There are some things that still need to be worked out in this grant application, even though we've submitted it, and it does involve Port Manatee, Port of Brownsville, and Seabridge Freight. There's some issues that, if we're successful in getting the grant, still need to be negotiated. But nonetheless, they're both in. Again, we're optimistic. Both of these represent an opportunity for us to expand our cargo handling opportunities, both in growing our business as well as making us more efficient in expanding that service. So Ask everyone like we did with Tiger One, please go light candles. Include us in your prayers before you go to bed every night. And, we really need to continue to focus on going after money for infrastructure improvements. And so I wanted you all to have that for your information. And again, that will also be posted on our website. And so all of that information will be available for anyone that wants to view it.
When did you say, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When did you say that we would find out about
This one this month.
this month?
Yes. The application is for the total project's $6.25 million. We are asking for $5 million. The 80% match, the 1.25, would come in the form of contributions by the third-party operator. That's where the match is coming from. There's a total of $7 million in that grant program, but what we don't know is who's eligible to apply or how many of the 8 applicants applied for it. What we're being told is that they don't intend to essentially cut it all up and give everybody a little bit, because sometimes that means the project won't succeed, but they're going to fund the best project. So we're hoping that we've made a case that our Marine Highway, which already has, a year and a half of proven effectiveness, that it works, is the best project. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Would there be any funds that the port would have to pay if we were to get this grant?
On the Marine Highway one, the way it's designed is no. Our cost would be operating the administering the grant, but the 20% match, we'd be looking at the private sector operator providing that. The rest of it includes acquisition of equipment such as a top loader. It includes acquisition of containers that we would each own containers. It includes some ramps that would facilitate the loading and offloading of the containers. And then part of the funding is to retrofit the barges to include their capacity to carry more containers. And with all of that also means looking at about September of next year of adding a second tug and a second barge, so that way it would expand the frequency of the service. And if you haven't had a chance to go out there and see it in the last few sailings, the Bruce goes in now, and I'll tell you what, I think I sent y'all a little email Herman had found where the Journal of Commerce had an article about container port operations around the world, not around the United States or not around Texas. And guess what? We were the first picture in there. So move over, move over Shanghai and Singapore. Here we come. So
That was a good picture.
that was pretty exciting. But I mean, again, I think that that's given us the container operation has put us on the map. The Marine Highway designation has put us on the map, and these are all good for the Port of Brownsville.
And Eddie, I might add that in that picture, the crane, our blue and white crane, says Port of Brownsville on it. So, anybody that's looking at the picture can know where it is.
That's correct.
So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you, Eddie.
The director's report.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I had a couple questions, one for Debbie and then a couple for Ariel on his report. Debbie had mentioned that on the bulk cargo dock that there was some damage to it, and are we waiting for the vessel owner to pay us before we start repair work to that, or are we going to go ahead and do it?
Actually, I'm waiting for them to defer on it.
We've already started?
I've been out of town for a couple
Oh,
of days.
okay. Well, the reason why is because, Joe's saying it's going to take 2 weeks for the concrete to cure, and I didn't want to, we're talking about $5,000 in damage. I don't want to.
They had originally said they were going to send their insurance people down to look at it. So we had backed off from doing repairs right away. Then they started looking at it and said it's going to be under their deductible. So they had said, well, they were just going to pay for it. And we sent them an estimate, and I haven't seen anything back from it.
We're not waiting around for a $5,000 check. I mean, we're going to go ahead.
No.
Okay.
We started that repair Monday.
Okay, great.
We
Good.
started those repairs Monday. I talked to the harbor master. He said that there wasn't going to be a limestone vessel coming in until probably 1st of October.
No, yeah, we have time. I just didn't want to be waiting for insurance proceeds or trying to negotiate with the ship owner, and all of a sudden we're
The only
looking
thing we
at.
would have waited on is if they wanted to have their insurance people look at it, and that they had to defer.
Yeah, and they waived that.
Okay, super. And then, Ariel, just 2 quick questions. Has PUB gotten back with you on the price for those underground lines?
Yes, we already have a price. You mean for the one for Dr. Evans?
Dot 10, it says here that,
Yes, we have a price, and in fact, the price was rolled into the price for the lease
okay,
for Sims, and all we're waiting for is the compensation from Sims to cover the price. In fact, we've already placed, Mr. Gass already placed the conduit for that.
okay.
So all we're waiting is for the money to come in so we can forward over to you.
Well, what we need to do on that is get the project done. We're not waiting for them to pay us. We're waiting, because the cost of that has been rolled into the lease that's spread out over so many years. So what we're actually waiting on PUB is to come and finish doing the job. We're going to pay for it, but we'll recover through the lease payments.
Okay.
And Adiel is correct, the conduit has already been put in the ground, we just need them to, and then I think there was some discussion the other day, possibly moving the transformer bank to another location.
Friday,
Yeah.
to relocate the transformer a little bit further so we can make room for the entrance, what should I say, for the trucks to, the vehicles to operate the rail on the side of the rail.
Yeah, we're moving ahead with that.
Okay, super. And then the last question I had was regarding the lift stations. You said that you still have 20 pending. Is the road work out of the way now that you can start working on those? Or?
Yeah, so we had budgeted amount from the previous year to work on the new lift stations, to renovate the electrical basically was of the lift station. So we're going to be doing with that money, now that we finished the road project and we know what the lift stations are going to look like, we're going to go back and redo the surface. We're not going to do anything underground anymore. And that's obviously going to be much faster and much less expensive.
But that'll be an ongoing project for probably the next 2 or 3 years. We're going to have to do so many over time.
Well, anyway, that's good. I just thought you were holding off on all of them until the road work was done, and then you're going to go right back in.
Initially, I kind of put that on the shelf because there was so much other things going on. Okay. And that wasn't like an emergency situation, but we do want to get everything renovated, and it has been budgeted, so that is going to be ongoing.
We also need to prioritize. Some need more attention than others, so that's the other part.
Eddie, on another note, for the 550 is going to come into the port, are they going to remove that rail, or are we?
No.
We're going to.
No, it'll be on grade.
It'll be designed on grade.
Yeah.
I saw them working today.
In fact, you'll hear about the project in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Again, I want to thank staff for these reports. They're very informative, very helpful. They'll do a good job putting them together.
Excellent.
Item number 4.
I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say that, we've made some great strides in getting our port fixed up and up in good shape, and the roads are now very impressive. And I want to commend the staff and everybody that's involved, because it's really, really, really gone up 180 degrees the other way, and it's just wonderful. Thank you.
Item number 4, consideration and action on the following consent agenda items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 18, 2010. B, approval of the following leases. Item 1, SMM North American Trade Corporation new lease. Item 2, Fortune Ferris Inc. first refusal.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, request to table item 4B1.
4B1. Okay.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Lopez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cowan. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Can I make a comment about 4B2? As you know, we're not encouraging doing the rights of first refusal, but in this particular case, this isn't someone who wants to come in and just take a right on it, may do something later. I mean, remember, we're actively negotiating with them. They're in the process of going through and doing the permitting necessary for the road improvements. So what we've done in this particular case, because it's an active project and they are showing progress towards actually the end result is the permit, a long-term lease, we would recommend the right of first refusal on this one. If it were somebody that just said, that's a nice piece of property, I'd like to tie it up because I may do something down the road with it, we'd probably say no.
Okay. We still have to approve the new lease, correct?
The right of the first
right of first refusal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the minutes.
And the minutes.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cowan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Masso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 5, update on the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority transportation projects.
Mr. Chairman, this was an item that requested to have the Regional Mobility Authority come in to kind of do an update on some of the projects. And I know that present today are Mr. David Alex, who's the chairman of the Regional Mobility Authority, as well as the administrator, Mr. Pete Sepulveda. And I know questions have been coming, especially on the 550, because it's starting to take shape. So with that, I'd like to
Get out of the way here.
turn it over to the folks with the RMA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Would you like to come up to the podium, please?
Sorry about that. It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right here if you want.
Port Director. You know, I've known your port director for a long, long time, and it's really exciting to see him get genuinely excited about his job. He's bubbling all over, and that's good. I think it's great. Eddie, just keep it up. We're gonna make you look good one of these days. No, all kidding aside, Eddie's a good old friend, a good friend of mine, one that we trust and honor each other considerably. I want to also introduce, of course, Commissioner Benavides, Cameron County Commissioner Benavides, who is, as you all know, and you don't have to worry about it, she is a strong supporter of the port, as we are. A strong supporter of the RMA. I mean, we really appreciate her dedication to what we're trying to do as far as transportation in this county. I want to let Pete go through the little short slide presentation or PowerPoint, and then I'll close it up by saying some closing words about where we're going to go and what we're going to do and what our vision is over the next 10 years. Pete?
Thank you, John. All that I know. Yes. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm going to go real quickly through our PowerPoint that we prepared and give you a status update on the SH-550 project, port access project, the expansion of the switch yard at Olmito, the relocation of the existing Union Pacific main through line through downtown Brownsville, Matamoros, expansion of Veterans Bridge, a status report on the East Loop project, the West Parkway, second access, and upgrades to US 77. A couple of weeks ago, we had a groundbreaking, DSH 550. We had Congressman Ortiz that attended the event. We had Mr. Greg Nadeau, who is the Deputy Administrator for Federal Highway Administration, Steve Simmons, Deputy Executive Director for TxDOT, amongst other dignitaries. And there you have your very own chairman. Yet another celebrity there.
Spending my money, man.
This is a picture on the intersection of Old Port Isabel Road and 550. That's Culvert crossing Justice 511. There they are cutting a portion of the road. You'll see a dump truck being loaded. There's a railroad crossing. We have a scraper that's moving dirt. This is looking west. You're looking at the alignment for SH 550. They're cutting the road for the port access. That'll be your new entrance into the port of Brownsville. Switch yard in Olmito. It's a stockpile of dirt. We're working on the subgrade on the south side. That's the area that's going to be expanded. There's 36,000 linear feet of rail that's going to be added. This is the area between the two main tracks of the switch yard. junction box in the center. West Rail relocation project. This is a status, the preliminary diplomatic notes, that task has been completed. Environmental assessment, the original has been completed. We've received the presidential permit. Environmental assessment number 2, what that is, because the original environmental assessment and clearance was more than 3 years older, we had to go back and do an upgrade on the environmental assessment. So we've gone through that process, and the feds have cleared us again environmentally. We've got an MOU with Union Pacific. We've got a Coast Guard permit. We've got IBWC and SELA that approved the final engineering plans. We have a license agreement from the IBWC. We started the bidding phase, and we opened bids on July the 29th. The bids were, I believe it was like 18% under budget. So we got a good bid. It hasn't been awarded, but we're in the process of doing that. The 2 items that are pending is the exchange of the final diplomatic notes between U.S. and Mexico, and then the construction agreement. The construction agreement will be the Commissioner's Court agenda for next week. At least from our end, all the terms and conditions are acceptable. Mexico is running it through their legal department one more time, and so we should be good to go with the construction agreement in the next 2 weeks. And in the construction agreement, we've got an October start of construction, so we'll be prepared to do that. The expansion of Los Tomates Bridge, same thing. The original environmental assessment was completed, environmental clearance was issued, change of diplomatic notes, same thing, because the environmental clearance was more than 3 years. We had to upgrade the environmental assessment. That's been completed. I believe we were the very first ones that had to go through an approval of TxDOT, the Texas Transportation Commission. A couple of years ago, there was a new law that any approvals for international bridges had to go through the Transportation Commission. So we've gone through that process and received approval. We have an amended presidential permit for the expansion. We have a Coast Guard permit. Final engineering plans have been approved between IBWC and SELA. We have an amended license agreement with IBWC. Our bidding phase is in October 2010. And so basically the only 2 items pending is the construction agreement and the final exchange of diplomatic notes. So once we go through the West Rail and do the construction agreement on that project, then this is pretty much a slam dunk. We'll just utilize the same language and change some dates. And this just shows you, currently we've got 4 lanes at the Veterans Bridge, so we're adding a new span, which is 4 lanes. About 60% of the project is being funded by Federal Highway Administration through their Coordinated Border Infrastructure Fund. So,
is the green the expansion? Is that the new span?
The green is the existing.
So so the one on
I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to add a lot of capacity. We're going to be able to separate the passenger vehicles from the commercial vehicles and allow commercial vehicles to, basically have 3 free lanes. Customs will then, from an operations standpoint, either designate lanes as fast lanes or lanes for empty trucks or non-fast lanes. And that'll just be an operation decision from U.S. Customs. In the U.S. nor in Mexico, will we have to make any modifications to the customs import lot? That's pretty much will stay intact. So the only addition that's being done to the project is the addition of 4 lanes. This will add, probably a good 50-60% capacity to the existing bridge.
Change the subject on you a little bit, but related to that, are you seeing an increase, at least in the last quarter and this quarter, on commercial truck traffic at the bridge?
To the tune of about 16-17%.
So it's increased, that's good.
We're seeing it here as well, so.
Yeah. East Loop project, I passed out a little flyer pamphlet project. This project is broken into two different segments. The first segment going from the Veterans Bridge to from 3068 or Indiana Road 511, and then from 3068 to the port. From the Veterans Bridge to Paloma Blanca, it's a 6-lane. From Paloma Blanca to 3068 is 4-lane. And then from 3068 to the port, it's a 2-lane. The environmental assessment for the segment from Los Tomates to 3068 was submitted to TxDOT about 90 days ago. We should receive their comments by mid-September. Once we get those comments, we'll address them and resubmit to TxDOT, and then it'll go to the Environmental Division, TxDOT in Austin, and from there it'll go to the Fed. So we're hoping that in the next 12 months we can get environmental clearance for that first segment. The second segment, it's taking us longer than the first segment because we went and we changed the alignment. If you'll recall, the alignment had the east loop going through FM 511 or Indiana Road and then hooking up with the port. And in consultations with Mr. Campirano, we decided that it'd be more appropriate to go and connect directly on the south side of the port. But because we did that, we had to restart the process on the environmental. And so we'll be going to a public meeting, in the next 60 days or so. But we believe that alternative is much better than the alternative that had been considered previously.
Excuse me, Keith, on the 2-lane section coming into the port, you'll have the right of way to expand that at some point?
Yes, yeah. We're clearing, the environmental assessment is being done for the ultimate. You clear it for the ultimate, that way when you're ready to do the expansion, you don't have to go back and redo the environmental. So you all know recently we got approved, as a matter of fact, last week, the Texas Transportation Commission approved our pass-through agreement, $34.5 million, and I think we've got about a 10%, the ability to go 10% higher, so about $38 million for the project. So we're anxious to get the project environmentally cleared so we can proceed with right-of-way acquisition as well as design and then construction. West Parkway, we've been working on the environmental assessment and we continue to do that. Hopefully go to a public hearing here at the end of this year. Again, this is a project that must go through TxDOT process and the Federal Highway Administration as well.
Awesome.
The second access between South Padre Island and the mainland, we submitted a draft environmental impact statement to TxDOT last November. Right now it is at TxDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, and we've got a September 15 deadline to receive comments from the Federal Highway Administration. It's gone through a review of the Environmental Division in Austin for TxDOT, and we've addressed those comments. So we're really not anticipating major comments from Federal Highway Administration. But nonetheless, I think within a 30-day period, we'll turn it around and resubmit it. We're set for a public hearing next March, which is about six months from now, and then for an environmental clearance at the end of 2011. In the meantime, concurrent with the environmental process, we're looking at all the different funding sources that are available for this project, as well as any other project we're working on. The RMA has the ability to do a comprehensive development agreement and bring in private funds into this project. So we're looking at that very closely. The idea is to be able to have the funding in place by the time we get environmental clearance, which might be December of 2011. The US 77, we recently received TxDOT got $28 million from the Texas Transportation Commission for a grade separation on Spur 56 in the Raymondville, Willacy County area. That's where I think it used to be Rodriguez Ford, I'm not sure where it is now, but where that Ford dealership is at, that's where the main lanes and the overpass will be built. We're expecting environmental clearance November of this year. And so the RMA is moving forward with the design of that grade separation. Once that is complete, I believe that the 77 in Cameron and Willacy County will be up to interstate standards. And so currently there's 123 miles of 77 between Brownsville and Corpus. 23 of those miles already meet interstate standards, so we were working on the other 99 between Willacy and Nueces County. There's a couple of other grade separations that are required. One is in Sarita, another one in Kingsville, and then the completion of the grade separation and the main lanes, that's under construction in Robstown, right by the Joe Cotton's barbecue. So we'll continue to work on 77 as well as all the other projects. So we've got right now between the expansion of the Stuchart in Olmito, 550, and the Port Access Road, about $65 million worth of construction. The West Rail, you're looking probably at about another 35-40 million. The expansion of the Veterans Bridge, about 15 million. So here by year's end, we'll have well in excess of $100 million worth of construction projects under construction.
What kind of timeline are you looking at that, Mr. Sepulveda, to bring this to where the jobs will be either completed or close to it? 550
contract with the contractors for 24 months. Port Access Road, I think that's like 9 months, 6 to 9 months. That's a quick project.
Está bien.
Olmito, probably by January, February of next year. West Rail, we're looking at 15 months for construction. The Veterans, we're looking at 12 months. And so what we're going to do is push hard for those projects that we're clearing environmentally, so that by the time these projects are completed, we'll start construction on the other projects.
I mean, to put a little cap on what our presentation is, what you saw on our slide presentation, when we do them all, not if we're going to do them all, that's about $1.5 million worth of work here. I want to publicly compliment my board. We have been in business for 5.5 years. We're finally digging dirt. And I guess we have had over 110 meetings in the 5.5 years. Only one meeting did we have when we had to cancel it because of a lack of quorum. I think that's indicative of the spirit and the dedication that my board members, thanks to the Cameron County Commissioner's Court, appointed. They're very dedicated, they're very strong, solid business people in the community, and they have a vision that is kind of like your important director and myself over the years, that, you know, if you can dream, you can do it. Well, we're going to do it, and as we dream. So thank you for your time and your efforts here today, for all of you.
David, thank you for all that you all are doing. I would like to ask, I know we've been talking about a traffic light at Amfelt's on 48, and I'd like to make sure that that stays, because everybody I think is ready to go on the money on that, so I'd like you to get this on a faster track if we can.
I'll get with it.
Okay. And then also on long range, I think we ought to think about an overpass at Amfelt's, at the boat ramp, and Bahia Grande, because as time goes by, 48 is going to be more and more of a thoroughfare, especially with 550 feeding it, where you'll come from the freeway right onto there to go to the island, and then maybe you'll have a spur that'll go off to the north a little bit to go to the new causeway, or go straight and go to the old causeway in through Port Isabel. So these overpasses at these places that are going to be more and more congested and used by the public, and as they access it, having a safe way to do that, I think would be, I mean, I know there isn't money to do it, nobody has a magic wand, but if you can put it on the drawing board, and like Eddie says, if you can dream it, you can do it. So you guys are in charge of doing it. So if you could put it on the dream list, I would appreciate it.
One of the things I think we're all going to have to realize, and we've come to that conclusion several years ago, is that if we're going to do the job that we need to do in this county, as far as all the items you have over there. You might as well forget about tax money and get it done. We're going to have to do it by having toll roads. We're going to have to do it where we're all going to have to pay to get across that A bridge or get across a loop road, and we're going to have to do it that way. There is no money out there, I promise you. Yeah. And we might be lucky and get a little Tiger grant money here and there, but for the long pull, if we're going to do the things we need to do in Cameron County to create 90 to 100,000 new jobs in the next 10, 15, 20 years here, we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to find a way to do it. There's plenty of money out there. But we're going to have to do a concession on it. We're going to have to say to John, your bank's going to loan us $1 million, and then we'll give you a 20-year operating rights on it, and make your yield off of it, and pay your repairs and maintenance, and then what 10% or something of that, we'll put it right back into the county to build a Morrison Road that we're having to do out of our own pockets. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but we've got to have the vision that we can't rely on the tax money anymore if we're going to do the job we want to do in this county. And that's what we're looking at right now. And Pete alluded to that a little bit about, contracting out some of our projects. And I can sit here and talk all day on that, and I know you could, but you know where I'm coming from. So somebody was telling me the other day, saying you're catching a lot of flack on the West Rail. I said, it comes with the job. I mean, it doesn't bother me a bit. I'm doing what I know is right. We're doing what we know is right. And as long as I stay that way, I'll be all right, too. But, when you change the mode of doing business in an area like the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm a Valley rat, you're going to have flack. And so we're here to take that flack, and if you want to throw a few flacks at me, that's fine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
David, thank you very much.
I'm not trying to throw any facts.
Pete, thank you.
David, I just wanted to comment, Mr. Chairman, that, in 2006, when Commissioner Massa and myself first came on board here, all this was needed was with the East Loop and the RMA. When you first approached it, we even had a meeting here that you conducted, and you can definitely see that, in just 4 years, you definitely have made a lot of headway, and I'm just proud to see that you guys never let go, and thanks to the work of Commissioner Benavides and the folks at the county and Pete and yourselves. We're just excited that the port was included in this, and it's definitely going to make a big impact on our part here.
I'm ready, what I do for a living, I'm ready to get that spur around, and you open up that 20,000 or 8,000 acres of make some money out of it.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate all the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
In 4 years, we put the list up.
Item number 6, consideration and action to approve amendment BA 2010-001 to the district's operating and capital budget fiscal 2000.
Before the last meeting, we had a workshop and went through some recommended changes to the budget, and we're bringing those recommended changes back to you. There have actually been nothing else has been added or subtracted out, and we ask you to approve this amendment.
And this is what you told us you were going to do at the budget workshop.
Right. We've adjusted the revenues and adjusted the expenses. Of course, we're still operating in the black.
Right.
We obviously added a few capital projects. We made adjustments to line items where needed to be adjusted. Overall, I think you have seen the first half of the year was not what we expected in terms of revenue, although we're seeing a much better second half. And I will tell you that even the adjustment we made still represent a conservative approach. If things continue the way they are, I think we'll be happy to report and pleasantly surprised that we'll end the year in a much better situation that we project on this budget.
Well, what's important is we're operating about $1 million. Our operating income is about $1 million in the black for depreciation.
Yes.
Which is good.
And cutting expenses by $1,284,000 and projecting that we're going to have a reduction of income of $871,000 is very conservative, and it's very good because you've given us plenty of leeway. Boy, that's very, very, very good. Thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this budget amendment.
Second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Item number 7, consideration and action on applications for renewal of solid waste collection and disposal license to Red River Service Corporation, GMS Waste Disposal, Allied Waste Services, BFI.
I would report to you that GMS and Allied have not gotten their applications back yet. They still have a few more days on the deadline. We thought they would be back in time. Red River Services is back and ready for your approval.
Okay. Just
We'll
so,
bring the other two back at the next
just
meeting.
so it's clear to me, we allow them to operate here, but it's up to the individual tenant to contract with who they want.
They have choice.
Choice, okay.
It's just a way of being able to make sure that it's a reputable company. They have what is necessary to meet all liabilities, and all we simply do is a mechanism to screen them and provide them a license to operate. But the tenant has choices on who they want to.
It keeps us out of having to manage and collect from the tenants and all of that. We're not
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
And that's why we did it this way.
Is it an annual deal, or is it?
It is annual.
Okay.
I just have a question or either an issue on this, item number 7. You have 3 companies that come into the Port of Brownsville to pick up waste. Do they come at different times, or they work on different schedules? What I'm looking at...
You don't control that at all.
You don't? They control that on their own?
If that's what the tenant needs, or they come once a week.
So you have 3 different companies that come in at different times, and obviously these are the big vehicles that are heavy vehicles, and they do, of course, use our roads. Long-term, I would think that would be a disadvantage to the port to have 3 different companies with 3 heavy vehicles coming in here 3 times a week at different times on their own schedules. It's just a point that we might want to look at it. Maybe it's something that have either maybe one company or all of them come in one. I don't know, but for using the roads, and it's very costly to work on the roads. It's maybe something that we can look at for the future. Because there's something.
I will tell you that what we've experienced is that the waste generated here is not like residential waste, and everybody can handle it. There are some of our tenants that have special needs, and when we've contracted with one, we end up that particular vendor cannot meet those needs, and we end up having to go out to the other vendors to bring them in. So we run into situations where one company has not been able to provide all the needs that we have, and we end up having to go out and search for others for our customers. And then we have customer service issues that my staff got to be responsible for every time the trash didn't get picked up. So it gets us out of the middle of some really difficult situations, because we can't control what they're doing and what their schedule is, and we can't make the customers happy because we have no control over it.
Well,
So
and
we did run into some real problems.
One is, it also provides choice. I mean, if you could, do an exclusivity to one provider, but I think that the problem you will run into is they may not be able to. They may be able to handle 80% of it, but there's that uniqueness of things they can't do. And this just simply, again, just provides a company that is reputable, that allows to operate, and then the customer can choose whoever they want to use based on their needs, frequency of service.
They are required to get those little annual permits, port entry permits, just like other.
So each truck pays just like any other truck does. In other words, either $3 a day or $90 a year. Yeah, the $100 permit for each truck that they operate. So they would pay the same thing any other truck that came in would do.
Those trucks is paying the same fee as any of the other.
So the one that is sent in the required documentation is?
Red River.
Red River, okay. So then we need a motion to approve Red River.
So moved.
Moved.
Second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. So then when the other 2 come in, then you'll bring them for
I
approval.
expect to be on the next agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
Item number 8, consider an action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, American Limestone Products, LLC, subordination.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, to the American Limestone under contract 3475 is requesting 14 cent to subordinate to IBC Bank Brownsville. They're consolidating their loans, and plus they're getting new monies for their operation here in the port. So that's my consent to this.
Did they send us a revised document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There was one phrase that was objectionable, and I never heard they'd taken it out, but if they did, that's fine. Okay.
Number 6.
Okay.
They took out the lease and just improvements.
That's fine.
Okay. Then we need a motion.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Item number 9, consideration and action to authorize signature authority to designate a grantee official to accept grant award from the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $1,385,800 on behalf of BND. Commissioners, as you know, we applied for round 10 of the port security grant. We had 3 projects that we applied for, and 2 of those projects were funded. The first project is installation and hardening of the general security and asset control infrastructure, which basically is our new truck entrance, the SH-550. When we close down Chemical Road, we're going to move that entrance over to new 550, so that will give us money for the new signage, for the guard shack there, for all our improvements that we have to pay for. And that was in the amount of $960,500.
Does that include the canopy and everything?
Yes, that'll include, yeah, whatever
we decide to do there.
That amount. And then the second project is Marine Patrol and Response Capability Enhancement Project, which is the boat dock and the boathouse facility for our patrol boat. And I believe the way we did the grant was to have 2 extra docks there, or docking station, to provide one for the GLO vessel and also for the Texas Parks and Wildlife vessel that helps patrol the channel. And that is in the amount of $425,300. The project 3 that we applied for was actually the maintenance of our cameras and surveillance system and replacement for anything that we might need for those projects, and that was not granted at this time. This grant is 100% funded by DHS. It has no match by the port, so this is a good one. So I would just ask that you give me the authority to sign and accept the grant.
So moved.
Definitely.
Okay.
The only comment is if you want to spend more than $960,000 or for it, that's on us. I mean, so as we go through the planning and decide that we want to do it.
We'll just take the check for $1,385,000 right now, no more. Okay, moved by Commissioner Mosso, second by Commissioner Ramalo, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 10, adjourn into executive session.
Could I,
Mr. Chairman?
I wanted to see if we could go back to, on the director report, I missed on page 3 with the Flying Systems vessel tracking software, if we could get a little bit of information on that, Debbie. I kind of got $460,000 for a program and then $10,000 for an in-house assessment.
Yes. This is something we looked at when we bought the system that we have. It's pretty much the industry standard. A lot of the ports, I think there's like 30 ports in the United States using this particular software. Port of Corpus Christi is using it. They're installing it right now in a new installation in Los Angeles. Port Everglades just put a new installation. They paid $2 million and it took 2 years. So this is pretty much what all of the ports that I've talked to are using this particular software. It's a vessel tracking. They have other modules that we can buy to allow us to do our lease management, our utilities. There's a lot of functionality that we would get. We have some issues with the current software that we have, mainly support issues. It's a single van shop, and when he goes out of business, support is gone, and he has lost some of his technical support who's left him, and we have to kind of piecemeal what we've got together. So looking down the road, we are going to be needing to look at something else, and this is the other thing that's out there. We did have some very serious talks with him, and they are not real happy about having to give us numbers, but we needed to know what the numbers are going to look at so we could start thinking about it. I didn't want y'all to get approached by him. He will be in Halifax at the AAPA convention.
And I was going to suggest that we go look at the system.
Right. So I wanted to give y'all a heads up on what he'll be talking to you about. the first step in looking at this would be to bring in a programmer to look at our needs, to assess what we need, and then to start looking at how he can meet our needs through the software.
That's where they charge $10,000
It
to
would be
do
a
that.
week in-house, and then a week back at their shop.
I spoke to Eddie about this, and until we really understand, or Eddie can explain to us,
Exactly.
I really don't want to spend any money. And because I mean, if we go with it, you're talking about $500,000, and
Yes.
and the
That's
board,
just the first one.
right, and the board really needs, Eddie really needs to understand, and Donna,
Right.
what it's going to do before we can
I
even
think,
start spending any
you
money.
know, and I think, you know, you're right, Mr. Chairman, with, you know, $500,000. I mean, it is a lot of money, but we do need a system in place to continue with the growth. But, you know, maybe something that we can also do is also get and open it up to other companies. I know there's more than one client software vessel company out there that sells software. If we were to get
We are actually Board of certified as a sole source.
I took the liberty to check on the internet because I checked Line Systems, and I checked for vessel tracking system softwares, and there was about 3 or 4 that popped out there. So, I mean, we might, it'd be worth it, you know, if we're going to, maybe we might get a cheaper system, or just kind of negotiate with these folks. Maybe we can get something better.
I think part of that whole due diligence is to, you know, I think, Debbie and I have spoken, and, you know, my first reaction was, you know, who else is out there? And so I think we've got some work to do, but I will tell you this, I do agree that, you know, we are going to have to do something. I mean, that system that we have is antiquated. It's going to have to be changed. But I'm not convinced, essentially, because I've done enough work to understand, is that, you know, are they the only vendor? And if so, you know, why are they the only vendor? But I think that, you know, going to Halifax, walking the floor at AAPA, seeing the exhibit hall, I'm sure we'll be able to find out. And I'd like to talk, you know, Debbie's, you know, talked to some of the ports, but, you know, I'd like to do the same. I think we've just got some work to do before we make a decision on how we're going to proceed.
And if there are other ones, there'll probably be at the conference.
It's just a good chance that we'll have a chance to see more than one vendor. And even then, I mean, we're not just going to go because, hey, the vendor talks a good game, let's go with him. I think we've got some work to do on how we want to approach this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Debbie.
Before y'all got approached, I wanted you to have a little background.
And Debbie, you know, does need to get out in front of the curve to find out what's out there and who's out there and what they do, because, you know, this process could be long and cumbersome in getting that conversion done.
Thank you.
Okay, anything for executive session? Nothing?
Item 11, possible action, there's nothing there. Item 12, public comment. We have Mr. Steve Bettis that has signed up to speak.
Mr. Bettis.
How you doing?
I have some updates, Chairman, Commissioner, Board Director. I think I have a very historical picture here that shows the B&M bridge crossing double containers.
Double stack containers.
Double stack containers. Of course, this is a Laredo, you know, overflow. Right. The next time we bring an update, it will be Brownsville brokers bringing double containers.
Put that on the screen so that the public can see it, sir, yes.
And to let you know, I also brought you some brochures. I mentioned last time the Superior. It's also known as the Panama Canal on land, just to let you know. And we are working with them, so they also know that we have the Maritime Highway. So just to give you an update on that. And on top of that, update to 969, we had the city mayor of Ciudad Victoria just a few days ago. And we also give them an update on 969, which we're hoping that they get that done, I don't know, in a few months from now. Obviously, to promote I-69 coming in from Brownsville to Matamoros, Ciudad Victoria, San Luis Potosí, and Mexico City. And all in reference to bring traffic and more jobs. And that's Madam Chair. Oh, and I didn't introduce myself for the record. I'm Steve Perez with the International Committee of the Chamber of Commerce and Brownsville.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Mr. Pettis' committee's been working with us on logistics issues, and I guess the question is, are y'all going to, anybody from the committee going to be joining us in Laredo for their conference? Good, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
The other thing too, just to kind of add as a comment, especially on the rail car movements.
No, you can have it.
You know, we saw the cars. I mean, I
No,
think
that's fine. You can give me one later.
Here you go. Here you go. The
No, that's
trains, the trains were stacked and ready to go right outside of Rancho Viejo, and we saw them. And the first thing was, you know, obviously they can make it across. But I think one of the things that was with the impacts on rail, especially in and around the area and the diversions to Brownsville, I think the positive side of that is that we have heard that that KCSM is going to make some improvements to the rail connection between Brownsville and Monterrey, which were sorely needed. And I think what they found was that because they had not put any money into it, you know, there was a real opportunity that that we would not have been able to move those cars. And so I think their contingency plans now call for them to, you know, making improvements. So in the future, if we need to do this as a diversion, it'll certainly work much better. And I think it has the capability of handling this kind of traffic in the future. So that was a good thing that came out of this experience.
Double containers in Matamoros. It's good news.
It'd be great if they start here and then they
go start here and go up there.
Eventually.
Yeah, we don't want them just going by and leaving as they go by. We want them loaded and unloaded here.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Anything else? Okay, need a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Good meeting. Very good meeting.